Hello War of the Visions fans, I'm Jackie Fox, and in a previous video we talked about all of the Trustmaster rewards in the game and how they impact economy, but today we're going to look at the rest of the equipment, and it's a lot. We're still scrolling. So I want to note a few things that I noticed about this that kind of back up my opinions on economy, but also maybe don't. So one thing I noticed is that economic impacts seem to be a lot more common on Trustmasters than they are on regular equipment, and that even among regular equipment there is a lot of economic benefit that's locked behind some of the harder acquisitions in the game. So not a lot of things that have a huge economic impact are going to be easily farmable within the far plane, though. Another aspect to this is there's a lot of, especially weapons, that are super specific to a character. I didn't include any of the collaboration accessories that are super specific, but also weapons and armor in general tend to, by their nature, be more impactful for damage calculation than they are for economy. It's kind of rare that they also get economic benefits. And some of the weapons especially that we see in this video are going to be really powerful and have strong economic benefits while also being really strong weapons as well. But even with that, I wouldn't recommend using, say, more than maybe max 6 of your equipment slots to focus on economy. You do still want to focus on doing and taking damage. And there aren't many good options for armor here. I mean, looking at the TMRs, all of the armor is pretty bad at being an armor, even though it does really cool other things. It just isn't very good at protecting you from damage in the way that certain other things can be. Just like the previous video, I sorted things out based on the type of economy that they build and the type of team that you're going to want them for. So right now we're looking at the TMRs that affect agility, and as you can see, there are quite a bit of them. And now moving into non-TMR stuff, even though there's more non-TMR equipment in the game than there are TMRs, there's a relative few that really impact agility. And there are more than this, but some of them just don't do much. So the first thing I want to look at here is the Wizard Staff. This is obviously a staff, so it's one of the few weapons we're going to see here, and of the weapons we see here, almost all of them are from legendary reliquaries. So, like I said, the most premium weapons in the game, almost all of them actually have economic benefits of some type while still being really good weapons. So this is one big exception for a weapon that you'll want to run that has economy. For this one, it has 5 accuracy, which ain't much, but it also gives you 300 CT when your HP falls below 90%. So this is going to give you a big boost to strike back after the first time you take damage pretty consistently, and I really like this staff. Next is the Feather Baselard. This is from the Select quests, so it's going to be a little bit hard to acquire and maximize unless you just really have MR units and time to grind through some difficult missions like that. But if you get it, it gives you 15% agility until you take your first hit, so kind of like the opposite of Wizard Staff in a lot of ways. Also, instead of giving you accuracy, it gives you 14 evasion, which is actually fairly significant and makes this a fairly good evasive TMR as well, but we'll cover that later. Pod 153 from the original Nier Automata collaboration. If you have this at +1, this is a limited collaboration item. It gives you 7 agility, which is the highest that you're going to get off of this stuff, and almost, I mean, for a very long time, it was the highest you were going to get off of any piece of equipment. But it also gives you 30 accuracy, which is pretty powerful. Crow Cloak, fully farmable. First fully farmable item here. It is also an accessory, so very well equipable. It gives you 10% additional agility until you've received 2 hits. So not quite as strong as the Feather Baselard, but at the same time also a little bit more durable. On the evasion units that are going to want to equip these, they're not going to be taking hits as often as most normal units because of evasion. And the more evasion, the more powerful this effect becomes, and this effect itself helps evasion. So a really good piece of evasion gear here. It also has 20 luck and 29 evade, so it really covers the entire evasion trinity very powerfully. But we'll talk about that more later. Heaven's Cloud from the legendary reliquaries is a katana. It's going to give you 80%, or I'm sorry, it's going to give you 10% agility when your HP is above 80%. So basically, until you take that first hit of damage, you have 10% extra agility. This is, as far as this effect goes, strictly a little bit weaker than the Feather Base Lord, but it has 7 accuracy on it, as opposed to the 14 evasion. So just not quite as good, but this sword does other things. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Pod 042, this is the newer Trials of Reckoning equipment from Nier Automata. 5 agility, so kind of similar to the other pod. 18 accuracy, again, kind of similar to the other pod. It does different things in terms of damage mitigation, but as far as just general economy goes, it's a bit weaker. Then another one that you can always fully farm, this is an accessory. 5 agility on the white cape is pretty good. Also, notably, all versions of this start with 5 agility. So if you really just want the agility, a level 1 plus 3 white cape is fine. This is also going to give you 15% silent resistance, in addition to paralyze, immobilize, and charm resistance of 50% for the first 3 turns of the fight. This seems a little bit of a short duration for those, but I do appreciate the silence resist. Then we have the Thornlet. So this is farmable and it is an accessory, but it works kind of an opposite way of some of the other ones, and in a way that maybe is more powerful. Now keep in mind that Devitalize is a 25% agility down, and Slow can go up to 50%. So 10% agility down is a relatively weak effect. However, it lasts for 3 turns and can be applied to all of your criticals. So while this is a weak effect by itself, you can apply it to a lot more people than some of these other 10% agility boosts. And this is also technically going to benefit your accuracy a bit, but also the equipment itself benefits your accuracy by 14, so not bad. Necronomicon is a book from the legendary reliquaries. This reduces your attack skill cast time by 250. There are book-related healers that could definitely use this to reduce their non-attack cast times, but this only does attack cast time, so this is really offensive. It's not necessarily going to help healers too much, but if you have a caster that needs to be casting faster and doesn't have the native support for that, this will give you another 250. Not bad. Also has 5 accuracy, which isn't great, but hey, it's something. And then finally, this one's kind of an oddball, but the Tourmaline Ring is a farmable accessory, 3 agility, okay, and 1 jump for 2 turns, which actually can make a big difference on certain maps for certain formations. This one's pretty technical, and the times that you need it are going to be really map dependent and really depend on what you're trying to get your formation to do, but this can be enabling in a cool way. And then for the evasion accuracy economy, I actually divided things into evasion gear and accuracy gear, as there actually is quite a lot of this. So looking at the evasion gear, probably the best thing for you is the winter coat. This is a cloth from raids, so you're going to have to wait for a specific raid or raid revival to pick this up. It has 48 evasion in total, does some other things, but 48 evasion is the largest source of that, and will probably make your character more evasive than these other items. It's a little bit hard to calculate this against the Crow Cloak. Not impossible, I could do it, but look, this took long enough already, okay? I looked through every equipment in the game. But getting that combination of agility, luck, and evasion kind of maximizes it in every direction, and I think this is a pretty cool effect on the Crow Cloak, especially for more evasive characters. Newer characters probably benefit even more from this because their natural evasion is higher, therefore the agility is going to last longer. Another option is the Black Garb. Now, I don't mention much of the damage calculation throughout this, but this gives 20% defense penetration. Otherwise, it is a bit weaker than the Winter Cloak, and it's only equipable by sword mains, or I think slash mains. Yeah, slash mains. So slash type damage dealers can use this for 40 evasion and some extra defense penetration. Again, you might want to run the Winter Cloak for that extra evasion here, but if you also want the defense penetration, this can be a really great way to go. The Murasame is the legendary reliquary's Ninja Blade, 5 accuracy. It also gives you 20 evasion on crit, and now gives 5 AP on crit as well. This is a good way to boost evasion for characters that don't naturally have a way to boost evasion, or for ones that you don't want to waste time on that buff, you want to work this into their offensive kit. This can be a good way to do that while also stabilizing their AP just a little bit and giving them a touch of accuracy. Sapphire ear cuffs are from the select quests. This is probably one of the easier ones, though, as this is for... Oh my god, I just saw him in the story and I don't remember his name. The Dark Fist, whatever. So Sapphire Ear Cuffs is made more for evasion. This is 30 evasion and 3 agility. Not bad. I mean, it's technically more evasion than the Crow Cloak and more stable agility. None of the luck. I mean, considering that you can get the Crow Cloak pretty easily, I wouldn't say this is worth going for. I would rather just have the Crow Cloak, which is easier to get. The Ribbon is a Trials of Reckoning reward. It's a pretty old one. I don't know when this is going to be coming back, necessarily. It provides 25 evasion, and as you'll notice, there aren't really heavy armor options for this, so the Ribbon is likely the best evasion gear you can put on a heavy armor unit, with the exception of the Crow Cloak. The Crow Cloak also works really well. I guess Sapphire Ear Cuffs could too. But it is one of the weaker ones. However, it will allow you to resist slow and stop. Stop will keep you from evading entirely. Slow will reduce your evasion potential as well. So both of these can actually be pretty helpful on the status side of defending evasion, but the overall evasive potential here isn't necessarily high enough. That's my favorite. Pod 153 comes in just a little bit weaker with its 7 agility. Feather Baselard with its 15% agility and 14 evasion. Then we have the Dragon's Claws. This is the legendary Reliquary's fist weapon. It says 22 accuracy and 15 evasion. Not great. There are some evasive strike characters that might really benefit from this in a way that other fists... I mean, this is the best fist, really. And it has 15 evasion on it, so it's going to help for those characters, especially in a way that you might not expect. But getting this low, we're looking at some of the less good stuff for evasion. A really old accessory option for evasion that came from raids is the Elf's Cloak. Luckily, this is an accessory, so easy to equip again for your heavy armor units. 15 evasion, same as the Dragon's Claws, but this also gives 25 confusion resistance, which isn't great. We already mentioned the Heaven's Cloud with its 10% accuracy until you start taking damage. Also Pod 42 with its 5 agility and accuracy. And then finally the White Cape with its resistances and 5 agility. So moving down into accuracy gear, let's see what we can do to counter some of the things I just mentioned. Whale Whisker is a great option for staff users. This has a stonking high 43 accuracy, which is pretty ridiculous. This is also unlimited, so it's very easily farmable for you, and also gives you 15 healing power when your HP is above 50%. Below 50%. Healing power when your HP is below 50%. So this allows you to recover more easily. Interesting. Especially when you consider it's meant for Omnilus, who has threshold heals and ways of healing herself in her kit, and wants to be getting herself above the 70% threshold so that her auto courage can re-trigger. This is pretty cool for her, but just really good accuracy equipment, and the best accuracy equipment, and is farmable. Only for staff users though, which can kind of limit its ability to go on certain DPSs, as those can be a little bit more supportive in a lot of cases, but still really good piece of accuracy gear. If you're looking for a raid accessory, the White Marshmallow Miniature has 41 accuracy, so very close. Also stops a bevy of really important status resistances. And to be fair, a couple of these are actually important for evasion too. Confusion and Sleep can stop you from evading, but also Poison, Petrify, and Paralyze resistance. This is pretty cool for what it does. I mean, it is a really great piece of accuracy gear that is equipable to basically everyone. It's going to be a lot of units' best option for boosting their accuracy, and it comes with pretty relevant status effects. I'm not usually big on status gear, but this one comes with 4 big ones, so pretty cool. Next up is the Dragon's Whisker. Much like the Whale Whisker, this lance from the Legendary Reliquaries has 40 accuracy, which is just big. Especially on Elda, King of the Lions, this makes him an incredibly accurate unit. Yoichi's bow, also from the legendary reliquaries, also a bow, has 36 accuracy with Su. It's pretty close, but as a bow, it's not as equipable as, say, the White Marshmallow Miniature. If you're looking for another accessory, though, Raid's got your back again with the Alexandrite Ring, which is going to bring you 34 accuracy and 2 evasion. Then the Final Fantasy X Trials of Reckoning equipment, Auron's Sunglasses, gives you 32 accuracy and an additional 30% acquired AP. Acquired AP is kind of, in some ways, a bad way of getting extra AP, but this can combo with AP regen, it can combo with just your buffs, give you more AP now. So this can be alright, but it's not my favorite. I would prefer AP cost rate down or AP regen, but this isn't bad. Then we have Pod 153, once again outperforming Pod 042. This is, though, from the original Nier, so you might not have this. 7 agility, 30 accuracy is pretty high. The Flowering is a magic-based sword meant for Howlet the Heaven's Blade. Although it works for a variety of characters, this gives you 27 accuracy. Another sword, if you're looking more physical, want physical accuracy, the Swordbreaker is a good option here. Both of those last two, both of those swords are farmable and unlimited, so that's great. If you want a similar amount of accuracy for a ninja blade, though, if you want to go accurate ninjas, you can do the Kurokasami. This is also infinitely farmable, so 25 accuracy here, pretty good. And then once we get below this point, the accuracy is going to drop off a bit, but there might be some other things to benefit. Like the Silver Rim Spectacles are more for magic users. These are going to give 18 accuracy, 1 evasion, initial AP of 10, which not all mages need, but some do. There are some that get kind of a hybrid start, which doesn't give them as much of their max AP as possible. This can be helpful for stabilizing those characters. I think this was really meant for like the original Jaden, so he's a good example of that. And then 20% blind resistance just to ensure that your accuracy remains good. This is an interesting benefit, and there aren't a lot of blind resistance stuff with high accuracy, so this is pretty cool. Although there is also the Emblem of Devouring. This one is also unlimited. It's an accessory, easily equipable. It's not tilted towards magic in the way that the Silver Rim Spectacles were. It has 24 accuracy, which is higher, and 15 blind resistance in addition to paralyzed resistance. Paralyzed resistance doesn't really play into accuracy, but if you can't hit someone, you can't hit someone. I mean, if you can't move, you can't hit someone. I guess that works. The blind resistance is only 15% here, though, so a little bit weaker than Silver Rim Spectacles, but higher accuracy. It's a trade-off. Then we have the Thornlet. So as I mentioned before, 14 accuracy ain't bad, but if you can reduce somebody's agility, you also reduce their evasion, which makes you, relatively speaking, more accurate. And then finally, Pod 042 for its 5 agility, and mainly its 18 accuracy. There weren't a ton of things that interacted with HP, but the ones that do are pretty strong. In particular, I think the Blood Sword is probably one of the strongest things in the game. This is the legendary reliquary sword. There are probably half the units in the game can equip this, and it allows you to absorb 20% of the damage dealt on critical hit. Although I'm not even... Is that on critical hit? I feel like it happens way more often than that. Also gives you 10 initial AP, which ain't bad. Arcane Tuning Rod is the select quest item for Minwu, 9 accuracy, but it increases your max HP by 15%, which is pretty cool. But if you want even more HP, sadly for a lot shorter, you can go with the Chocolate Flan Earrings. This is a raid accessory. Also, this is a staff. This is a raid accessory here. It's going to give you 11 accuracy. It's going to increase your HP by 35%, which is quite a bit for 3 turns, which could give you some trouble actually lining up and utilizing that extra HP, but in the way that HP increases, temporary HP increases work, that also means that within those first 3 turns, you can take 35% of your health and damage, and it won't mean anything after 3 turns because that'll just all drop off. Basically, the damage will fall off. This also gives you 25% stun resistance, which is alright. Then we have the Gauntlet of Sharp Steel. This is a recent raid equipment. This is an accessory as well, so it's widely equipable. for the most part. Actually, I think this might be a little bit harder to equip than more accessories are. The reason this is in here is that it gives you 10 healing power down on hit. Now, healing power down stacks, so since this lasts for 3 turns, you can essentially get up to a consistent 30 healing power down if you just keep hitting them. Also, if you combo this with characters that have healing power down in their kit or other healing power down modifiers, it'll stack with those. So you're getting an extra 10 healing power down on stuff. So let's say your move already reduces their healing power 50, this is going to reduce it by 60 total. But it'll also mean that all of your other skills are reducing it an additional 10, even if they don't generally do anything. Then we have a bunch of staffs. I mean, they all do basically the same thing. They're healing power 15. They have varieties of accuracy, but they're all basically healing power 15. Sage's staff is actually really hard to get your hands on. It is technically unlimited, but it is not farmable. The rune staff, though, is farmable. This is going to give you 17 accuracy, so a little bit less, but still pretty good. The whale whisker, though, 43 accuracy is huge, and the healing is more clutch. Although, if you're standing in the back, if you're not like a battle healer or capable of healing while you're in the fight, I think the healing power down that works regardless of what your HP is, or works when your HP is full, is maybe better. So maybe something like the Dawn Lantern, if you're a mace character with heals. There aren't as many of those, but I figured I'd include it. It also has healing power of 15. Moving over into AP, once again, not a lot of non-TMR stuff here. And I included the Blood Sword, even though, honestly, I wouldn't have included other things with 10 initial AP. It's just not enough to really be hugely impactful. But also, this is the best sword in the game. It's widely equipable to a lot of people. If you need a little bit of extra AP, this can be the way to go. I don't know what to say. It's good. So starting with the Fairy Flask, this is actually going to have additional benefits for the Warriors of the Crystal, but I think its general benefit is good enough to not really be concerned with that exclusivity. Just remember that you're going to get even cooler effects if you play it on one of those characters. It is an unlimited farmable accessory, so that's cool. It gives you 30 AP, and it brings your AP cost rate down by 15, which is not the highest amount of this, but the 30 AP on it is also pretty cool. Sharpshooter's Monocle. This is going to give you 20% AP down on critical hits, so this is more of a negative for the opposite side of the economy. That's pretty cool. Rune Axe is the legendary reliquary's axe. It has 1 agility, but it has 20 AP cost rate down. This axe has other cool effects that are non-economic, so it's a really good option here if you just want to fix your AP efficiency on an axe character. And there are a number of good axe characters to do this with, though axe characters maybe aren't the best. The Mythgraven Blade is one of my favorite pieces of equipment of all time. It is a sword. It hasn't been rerun in a very long time. There is a significantly high chance that none of you have it, or none of you have it at +5. The Trials of Reckoning were really hard to farm when this came out, so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you don't have it. But, that being said, AP cost rate down 20, so same as the Rune Axe, but also 13 accuracy. This is just a really good sword, and almost Legendary Reliquaries level, I think. Like, this was probably my go-to sword before the Blood Sword came out. Very good if you have it. Radiant Dragon Horns are the fist weapon for Elia the Alabaster. They give AP cost down 15 and 18 accuracy. So this is one of the weaker AP cost down effects. It's the weakest one that I'm going to show on this list. It ties with the Fairy Flask. But if you are a strike character that wants to be more AP efficient and slap more, this is a great way to go. Even avoiding the Dragon Claw Fist from the Legendary Reliquaries, which is really powerful. But if you're running an all-strike team, you're going to be wanting to work in other pieces of equipment. So maybe this is a really good option for Elia, as I think it gives her some significant bonuses. Although I think it's a little bit more general and might work for some of your other older characters that might need the AP cost down more. Then we have Assassin's Dagger. This is the dagger from Legendary Reliquaries. In addition to having 15 accuracy, it gives you an additional 25 AP at the beginning of the fight. This will probably allow you to use your biggest and baddest move one extra time, which is pretty great. That's a big chunk of AP to be getting at the start of the fight. You might be looking at 30 AP from the Fairy Flask and think, oh, well, that's less. Nope, that's 30 more for your max AP. If you're a physical unit, you're only getting 30% of your AP at the start of the fight, which means that you only really get 10 initial AP out of that, which means that the Fairy Flask, if you ignore the AP cost down, is only really as good as the Blood Sword on that. So you're getting significantly more initial AP for a physical unit, or a dagger unit that would be using this dagger. So it is in some ways stronger than the Fairy Flask, but it doesn't give you the AP cost rate down. And then finally, there's the Blood Sword, best sword in the game. 10 AP, couldn't care less. So finally, let's get over into status. This is actually where I found a lot more stuff. So let me walk you through this. Actually, all right. So Belos smartphone is first. I mentioned this in my previous video because it's basically the closest thing we have to a ribbon effect in game. Although there is a ribbon and it does interesting things, but it's definitely not like the ribbon effect from Final Fantasy. Now, unfortunately, this was limited to an April Fool's event, and if you didn't play it, you didn't get it. It has 4 AP and 1 agility, because 4-1 April Fools. But also it's going to nullify Sleep, Paralyze, Confusion, Charm, Frostbite, Haste, interestingly, Slow, Stop, Stun, Disable, Berserk, Protect, and Shell, but also Quicken, and nullifies Courage. So you can't use Courage, you can't be quickened, you can't be protected, you can't be shelled, you can't be hasted, but in trade-off for all of that, you will be nullifying a lot of status resistances. For a lot of newer characters, either the haste or the courage or the protect and shell are going to be a problem, as this is going to create issues with their kit. But for characters that are maybe like re-raise centric and aren't hasting or protecting and shelling themselves, or not running with quicken on the team, this is a perfect solution for insulating yourself against a wide variety of statuses, probably the widest in the game. Coming in at a close second to that, though, is the White Marshmallow Miniature. We mentioned this earlier. Very high accuracy on this. Resist, Paralyze, Petrify, Confusion, Sleep, and Poison for 50%, which is pretty much nullification. I mean, this is very good. It does a lot of the things that Belos smartphone does, with none of the drawbacks and a whole hell of a lot of accuracy. Maybe this is the strongest thing on the list, but I thought Belos smartphone was at least interesting. Then there's the Genji Glove. So this is an accessory, but it's from the Legendary Reliquaries. It is the Legendary Reliquaries accessory. And in addition to being really great for your damage, it also gives you Paralyze, Toad, and Poison resistance. Not sure what's going on here with Toad necessarily, that feels kind of useless, but Poison and Paralyze are at least pretty good. Mind Flayer's Belt is an accessory that you can easily farm, 13 accuracy, and it's going to give you resistance to Stun, Berserk, and Paralyze. And while I don't think Stun is the biggest thing, there are definitely characters that won't want to get Berserked. Also, Berserk is especially bad for mages. And just as a note, I would think of a lot of these as being mage-centric, because mages are going to have way more issues with status effects. So things like Berserk or Silence are especially impactful here, because they can really turn off the characters that are most going to want to be equipping these. Next up is the White Cape, infinitely farmable, 5 agility, very fast for a piece of status resistance gear. 15% silence resistance at all times is pretty great. But I have very mixed feelings about Paralyze, Immobilize, and Charm resistance for only 3 turns, as those are probably going to wear off before you start getting slapped in a fight. I'm not sure that the White Cape is quite where it's at for resisting status effects, but I do like the 15% permanent silence resist. That can be helpful. Then we have the Ribbon, 25 evasion. This is mainly evade gear. But slow and stop resistance are both pretty cool. 30% is a little bit higher and a little bit lower, and really puts this like in the middle of the range for resisting statuses. These are pretty important though. Being slower will decrease your evasion, and being stopped will turn off your evasion. So this can be a really important piece of status gear for evade units. Emblem of Devouring has a lot of accuracy at 24. But not a lot of resistances at Paralyze and Blind of only 15%. But the Blind resistance can help reinforce the accuracy, thus that's not bad. Chocolate Flan Earrings, 11 accuracy, increase your HP 35% for 3 turns, big effect there. Stun resistance 25. You know what? I don't think stun is that bad. And silence is a pretty big deal. I'll even move that up here. Okay, so we'll talk about that next. Soul of Thamasa. This is a piece of raid equipment for mages with 25 silence resistance. As I pointed out, you know, mages have a lot more trouble with silence. They can be almost completely turned off by silence, so this is a really important one for mages to have, potentially. And also, you'll notice, other than Balo's smartphone, this is the highest amount of silence resist that you can get like this, so very helpful for mages. Then we go down to the Defense Bracer with 17 accuracy, 5 evade. Kind of doing middling things in both, honestly. But it gives you disable resist of 25. There aren't a lot of units that run disable. There aren't a lot of like high modifier, like high chance disable skills. Because it's a very powerful effect, they've used it very sparingly. So this has kind of limited help, but in the situations where it does help, it's pretty cool. This isn't really the reason you run the Defense Bracer, though. Then we have the Elf Cloak with its 15 evasion and 25% confusion resistance. I'm not even sure that I dislike confusion more than stun. I think stun is actually worse. So, whew. And then finally we have the Silver Ring Spectacles. This is going to give you more blind resistance than the other piece of blind resistance gear, the Emblem of Devouring. Although it doesn't fully nullify it, like... Actually, Balo's smartphone doesn't interact. Also, it doesn't interact with silence. So you missed some really important ones here. Again, Balo's smartphone doesn't deal with silence, so again, your best silence resistance is here with the Soul of Thamasa, and your best blind resistance is here with Silver Ring Spectacles. So, with all of that, I hope that you have a much easier time building teams in the future. I hope that sorting this out like this really makes it easier for you. And if you want a link to this whole spreadsheet, you can find that in the description. So, remember that liking and subscribing are the free-to-play option for YouTube, in addition to leaving tasty comments for me to devour down below. But also, in that description box, while you're also going to find a link to the spreadsheet, you'll find a Linktree link that will lead you to all points of the Jockey Fox Media empire, like the Yggdrasil that Linktree is in 2024. This can lead you to my main YouTube channel with its associated podcast being on Spotify. Also, it can lead you to my books. Please buy them. They're cool. Check them out. And also, you can donate to the channel. You'll find links for that in the description as well. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.